Japan has a perfect record.
We're number 2. We try harder.
But guys, if we failed...
Wait a minute, weren't they just on the second floor? How'd they get down to the first floor in the middle of that sentence?
Hold on, don't you mean in the middle of that conversation? Because I'm certain you heard a man speaking and then a woman, so unless you think they're soulmates and are completing each other's sentences, this sin is bullshit.
Look, I don't care how wink-winkish this movie is. There's no way Dana would be prancing around in her panties within full view of the neighborhood and with the fucking window open.
I just love how in one breath, CinemaSins can claim to understand this movie is a satire of horror films and its tropes, but then completely whiff on the scantily clad woman trope. It's almost like CinemaSins doesn't actually know what satire is.
Professor Quad.
Wow, this movie went balls deep into cold-cocking that Bechdel test into smithereens right off the bat, didn't it?
The only people that seriously care about the Bechdel test are those that should stay the away from scripts and screenplays.
People in this town drive in a very counterintuitive manner.
The comically large coffee travel mug bong is brought to you by Cheech Marin's Starbucks collection.
This is what happens when someone who uses satire's perceived shield from criticism encounters actual satire. Missing the point is what I'm saying.
A giant bong in your father's van? What are you, stoned?
Why do these people hang out with Marty? This is a mix of people that walked out of the J. Crew catalog, but they pal around with one super hippie guy that's high all the time?
Damn, dude, why the hell not? Marty seems like a cool dude. Hell, stoners have been some of the coolest people I've ever met, and yeah, they were among the cool kids in high school.
Nest is empty. We're right on time.
How long has this asshole been on the roof? What if they'd left from Kurt's house? And why didn't they leave from Kurt's house, considering it's his van?
Ugh, I thought I was having a stroke listening to these egregious audio splices.
What's your name?
Daniel Truman, sir.
This outfit that's highly reliant on security decides to make an important new hire on their biggest day of the year.
No, because that isn't how hiring works, Jeremy. They didn't make an important new hire today. He's just obviously new here, and as this day is the once-a-year ritual date, this could just be his first rodeo.
This closed sign makes me think maybe this place is closed.
No shit, Sherlock!
Sudden CGI eagle of suddenness. Dead only for us, the audience. A real eagle would have sniffed out the danger and flown far away from this bullshit, but whatever.
Dude, birds fly into windows all the time. Besides, bird would probably see another bird fly into that invisible wall and fly into it themselves a minute later because birds are that dumb. Except crows. Those bastards are so smart they can speak.
Fuck you. Fuck you.
Also, this is one of the few missteps this movie makes. Showing us this electronic invisible security grid right now is dumb. We've got plenty of evidence something is funky from the cuts to Bradley Whitford and Richard Jenkins, and this undercuts the potential shock of the later scene when the elder Hemsworth motorcycles himself into the grid and dies a hilarious and shocking death.
Hold on, you expect me to believe that you wouldn't be bitching about that later scene if they didn't set up the grid right now?
Why did they need a camper to drive out to the cabin? It's clearly less than a day's drive, and the cabin is where they're all sleeping. They could have all fit into Marty's Volvo and saved on gas.
Sure, they could have taken that Volvo, but who the hell wants to take a road trip in a Volvo when you can ride in a much more comfortable RV?
How we're slowing down cognition. The hair dye.
Dumb blonde, very artistic.
Works its way into the blood, through the scalp.
Or you could spend much less time and money recruiting dumber kids. There are literally millions of horny, athletic, bookish, drunk, and virginal teenagers out there, but they had to pick the ones that are academic all-stars?
You're missing the point that the horror is being created for the Ancient One's entertainment. You have to think of this movie as an allegory for us in the real world. The tropes they are forcing the people to fit are the actors acting out horror movie tropes. You wouldn't hire an idiot to be an idiot in the movie. You hire an actor. The organization are the filmmakers, and the Ancient Ones are the stand-in for us, the audience. Get it?
The lambs have passed through the gate. They are come to the killing floor.
So wait, this is a professional setting where people in lab coats construct horror scenarios, but this guy is an actual horror movie nutjob?
The guy playing Mordecai is an actor, Jeremy. Jesus. You find those on Backpage. Don't you mean backstage? I said what I said.
Seems a little harsh, doesn't it? It's just people letting off steam.
No, it's gambling casually on actual human deaths. Letting off steam would be playing ping pong in the break room or jamming to Bon Jovi in the locker room.
Considering humanity literally requires these sacrifices and they've been happening for a very long time, yes, this has become normalized and would be considered blowing off steam. That's kind of the joke. I mean, we watch and bet on a sport where armored people give each other CTE. One day we're going to look back at how barbaric that shit is, and I say this as a fan.
Yeah, we rig the game as much as we need to, but in the end, they don't transgress.
They can't be punished.
This is still a weird system. If they need the victims to make the wrong choice, or it doesn't count, then how about all the other manipulations that led them to that wrong choice? They basically changed these people through chemicals and shit. so how does that not factor into it?
Again, this movie serves as a metaphor for slasher films and how we consume entertainment. The people in these films make stupid decisions all the time because if they didn't, there would be no film. When they say,
They don't transgress.
They can't be punished.
what they're actually saying is, if people don't make dumb decisions, there wouldn't be a movie.
Please enjoy the music while the camera follows this girl's ass through the cabin.
Jeremy points out asses on the screen ex machina.
I dare you to make out with that wolf.
This is the first dare out of the gate. They just f***ing started this game, and this stone motherfucker dials up the dares to 11 right off the bat.
We actually don't know if this is the first dare or not. During this scene, Marty says, "My turn," indicating they've been playing the game already, and given how lit these people are, there's no way this is the first dare.
The wind must have blown it open.
Because that's a thing that happens.
That makes what kind of sense?
Ah, spoke too soon. But also, Stoner Guy would be excellent at CinemaSins.
Jeremy sends something he agrees with cliche.
What do you think's down there?
I don't know, but by God, it better not be another f***ing Infinity Stone.
Jeremy makes a pop culture reference.
Okay, he opens a music box, this chick takes a necklace off a mannequin, this idiot touches some film, and this Thor motherfucker's tinkering with a sphere. But this movie will choose this gal's diary opening as the act that decides which evil creature will assault these people.
Okay, what the hell is your point? Any of these trinkets could have been chosen, and they went with one of them. Why the heck is this a sin? And it wasn't the opening of the diary that chose the creatures. It was Dana reading the inscription inside the book that caused the zombies to appear.
I have found it in the oldest books, the way of saving our family.
Too bad these people aren't good enough at CinemaSins, or else they would have asked themselves why Anna Patience Buckner didn't just say this Latin phrase herself, while she was still alive to write it in a diary.
If she wrote down the phrase, it's obvious she tried it and it didn't work. I love how you try to act all high and mighty about something that seems obvious, yet you miss something obvious in the process. That's a weird variation of Murphy's Law.
30 straight f***ing seconds of zombie rising footage that's too dark to tell what the hell these things actually look like.
Jeremy wants monsters in a horror film to be perfectly lit. No, that's the sin.
Hang on, you're telling me that out of all the departments, no one took demons? That's bullshit, man. I'm calling bullshit on this Death Sportsbook.
Maybe demons were an obvious choice, like the Clippers making it to the finals.
Also, damn it, I have to take 1 cent off for the movie referencing the Deadites in the Evil Dead trilogy.
Dude, you literally just send the Latin passage in a book, the most obvious Evil Dead reference. Hell, there's the angry molesting tree right there.
Yes, you did. Yes, you had zombies. But this is zombie redneck torture family, see? They're entirely separate species.
Yeah, but how do you distinguish between witches and sexy witches? Isn't that a subjective thing? Can't I get a boner for the ugly witch too?
Sure. I mean, Donald Trump did. That's why he married her. Also, Jeremy says boner.
Looking at this board, how the hell were they supposed to choose half the things written here while they were in the cellar?
Everything in that cellar had a backstory to it and could have potentially conjured up these monsters on the whiteboard. In fact, there's a list on the film's wiki showing which items would summon which monster.
I am never gonna see a merman. Ever.
Can't you just go down to the place where they keep the merman and request to see it?
You would think he means see the merman in action, but not if you're CinemaSins, you wouldn't.
We need the Japanese crew to get it done.
This shot of the ghosts in Japan is goddamn hilarious, and I'm tempted to remove a sin. But the fact that the director needs an athlete, a whore, and a fool, in addition to a scholar and a virgin for proper sacrifice makes this grade school setting definitely sinful.
First of all, Jeremy sends something he likes cliche. And second, you're very clearly missing the point about these tropes being what the the ancient ones find entertaining. In Japan, this is the kind of horror that is popular, so this is what their ancient ones prefer. In America, the slasher was the more popular horror theme, and that's why we get these character archetypes.
They came up from the basement and this girl was still so sexed up she did a twerk dance in front of the fire, and everyone forgot the basement full of freaky shit, some of which they touched. Though, to be fair, were I witness to this particular fireplace dance, I also would have forgotten basically my entire life up until that moment.
Calling this twerking. Thanos threw it back better than this.
He's on full academic scholarship, and now he's calling his friend an egghead?
We got the explanation about the dumbing Jules down from the hair dye, but what's Kurt's excuse for suddenly turning into a Neanderthal?
Dude, if they showed you a scene of them manipulating the group through chemicals, it should be obvious this is what happened to Kurt. Why do you need your handheld when you watch movies?
What is that?
The Latin that you read in the
You
basement.
speak Latin?
Wait a minute, when Dana read that Latin thing a minute ago, she said it was nothing, like she knew what it meant before she read it, assuming it was gibberish. Now we find out she doesn't know Latin at all, so why the f*** did she think it was nothing?
Jeremy is seriously continuing to ask, why are these people changing after literally talking about the chemicals the organization has been giving them, causing them to change?
Okay, baby, let's see some boobies.
Show us the goods.
Does it really matter if we see
We're
her?
not the only ones watching, Ken.
Gotta keep the customer satisfied.
This scene makes no sense. As long as the gods know that she's a whore, that should suffice, but they make the fact that we need to see Jules a requirement for the sacrifice.
Fam, this movie is a metaphor for a horror film and the people watching that horror film. In order to fit the character archetype of the whore, the audience has to see these actions take place. The reason Dana is considered the virgin, even though she isn't one, is because we don't see her engaging in sexual behavior prior to entering the cabin. The audience of a film doesn't know anything about a character unless the film shows it. Do you get it yet?
Does satisfying the customer also mean that the zombie redneck torture family stabs hands before they stab something more vital?
They are called the zombie redneck torture family, Jeremy. You literally said the words yourself.
I thought there'd be stars.
This is a tip-off to him that he's not in reality, and that'll be important later. But the sin is for the fact that these detail-obsessed horror movie-making business underlings down under never thought to put stars in the sky. Like, not even once.
It's not exactly unusual to not see stars in the sky. I mean, these guys are from the city, so light pollution would be normal for them. Even if it weren't, do you think the organization really cares? I mean, these people are supposed to be running from and getting killed by supernatural creatures. Who the hell would be looking at the sky?
This zombie redneck torture dude bothered to carry Jules' head all the way to the cabin, somewhat for the scares, but mainly because he's an asshole.
If you're aware that he did this to torture them, why the heck was this a sin?
No matter what happens, we have to stay together.
Calm down. Watch the master work.
By pressing some buttons and releasing chemicals into the air? What a freaking master! Also, how does Hadley not know about the magic chemical that makes people want to split up rather than stay together? Guy's been on the job since at least 1998.
Maybe he was hoping they'd choose to split up on their own and was disappointed they didn't. Wouldn't surprise me if he had a side bet on it.
Also, there's a chemical that makes you want to split up but not stay together.
Are you serious? Why the hell would they want a chemical to make them stay together? Have you never watched a horror movie ever?
Also, why is Kurt the only one of them that's affected by this terribly specific decision-making gas?
Wrong. Everyone except Marty is affected by the gas, which is why they agree to split up.
This outfit's surveillance gear is so tight a high-as-f*** stoner just discovered it after knocking over a goddamn lamp.
Except the movie makes it a point to show that because Marty is high, he is unaffected by the organization's drugs and is actually making him more aware of his surroundings.
And despite no proof of the stoner's death, these underground business assholes go ahead and pull the second death lever prematurely. I mean, they were monitoring their health, right?
I just want to point out that earlier you asked how was the organization collecting the blood from the sacrifices?
How did they get the blood from the cabin grounds to the temple so quickly?
And this scene proves it's not their blood, but some type of reservoir with symbolic blood.
Also, this is the problem with monsters, even in meta-horror movies. This zombie can't be killed, even if it's been dismembered, but for whatever reason, it stops zombieing after Dana knifes him in the chest a few times.
But if the point is to satirize horror tropes in horror movies, why wouldn't they include it in their film? Because some weirdos with a YouTube channel would get pissy about it?
Also, even though I love this scene, I've got to ask, why does Japan need to kill 20 innocent schoolgirls while America has to kill 5 stupid college kids? I go back to the satisfied customer thing. If they demand nudity and sex, then Japan already failed with this 9-year-old schoolgirl scenario.
The cool thing about Asian horror media is that they don't really have many solidified tropes. Sure, you get similarities like Sadako and Kayako, but even then, the only similarities they share are long dark hair with white clothing. What I'm saying is, it could be as crazy as a ghost killing all the schoolgirls or a demon possessing their parents and having them kill all their loved ones. Japan be crazy.
Don't hold back.
He's about to jump a gorge and try to rescue everyone, and you tell him this, because you are a screenwriter cliche of a character.
You gotta love how CinemaSins calls out the character being a cliche, while at the same time missing that the character was purposefully written to be a cliche.
Another thing, how are they getting the blood from these people?
Hold on, man, you are literally saying the exact same things and saying them twice.
How did they get the blood from the cabin grounds to the temple so quickly? How are they getting the blood from these people? And how does the blood travel from anywhere in their little horror park to the right place?
It's like the deja vu scene from The Matrix, but annoying and a lot less cool.
She's still alive.
The virgin's death is optional, as long as it's last.
And convenient to the plot.
No, this is the final girl trope. In a movie that is clearly playing around with horror movie tropes, this is probably the most well-known. How the hell can you call yourself a movie channel if you're suggesting that the final girl trope is convenient to the plot? What does that even mean?
This redneck zombie dick hasn't killed Dana yet. Apparently he needed to work on his biceps before killing her.
Not only is Dana the final girl, this is the redneck zombie torture family. What you are doing is the equivalent of saying, why do dogs act like dogs? They're dogs, you idiot.
He successfully got this elevator to go down, but that's it. How did he ensure they'd stop in places where they could see monsters but not be killed by them?
How is this a real question? The elevators were obviously designed to be contained from the other containers. That's like asking why are people in other elevators not in your elevator?
This is basically a haunted elevator ride, but how are they moving this thing after it started in the grave? And when the hell do we get to David S. Pumpkins?
They aren't moving anything. The movie clearly shows that this system is automated.
Nice shot, but this method of monster storage seems way too complex and impossible for any kind of efficiency.
Except it doesn't matter what it seems to you, only that it serves its purpose within the film. And as they've been using this system for years, it seems to work just fine.
Dana somehow knows how to work this control board in order to unleash all the monsters.
Yeah, but there's a giant red button on a panel that reads System Purge. Just curious, but what the heck do you think this does? Turn on the sprinklers?
Let's get this party started.
This f***ing laugh.
Marty and Dana get out of the control room, but this is Monster Central because the elevators keep taking monsters here. Yet there's only a few obstacles for them when they run out, making their escape too easy.
So Jeremy thinks after the monsters have killed the agents on this level, they would remain in the same spot, just chilling instead of, searching for more people to kill.
The Virgin.
Virgin?
We work with what we have.
If we're supposedly sating a bunch of demons known as the Ancient Ones, they certainly would know whether or not someone's a virgin, right?
No, because as this is a metaphor for a movie audience, the audience wouldn't know something the film doesn't tell them, unless of course it's based on some kind of source material.
Also, you had two girls. One was a dedicated student in a committed relationship, and the other just had an improper sexual tryst with her teacher. But you chose Jules to make into a whore, and Dana is the virgin?
I would say it's amazing that CinemaSins is failing to understand this movie this hard, but at this point their ignorance doesn't surprise me anymore. Again. This movie is a metaphor for a horror film and its audience. Dana and Jules are actresses in this film, and their personal lives outside of the film don't matter as long as they fit their roles within the movie. It's like how Neil Patrick Harris played a womanizer in How I Met Your Mother when in fact he's gay.
The Ancient Ones, the gods that used to rule the earth. As long as they accept our sacrifice, they remain below.
Hasn't this one also failed, though? Considering the stoner survived, and both he and the Virgin made their way through the compound into the stone ritual room?
No, it has not failed yet. This is why Sigourney Weaver states that Marty can die with them or die for them. This means that there is still time for this ritual to be successful if Marty dies.
Redneck zombie axe machina.
Except earlier we saw Zombie Anna escaping the fray and making her way towards the protagonists. Remember, the redneck zombie torture family were the creatures they summoned, and according to the rules, she's actually going after Marty, but Marty put the director in the way of Anna's attack.
Patience seems to know that the director needs to be killed, since she bypassed Dana on the stairs, because she saw how much time was left in the movie and wanted to move the along.
No, she's trying to kill Marty because the Virgin has to survive or die last. You skip the part of the scene where it shows Marty flipping the director over to avoid Anna's attack. You also have to love how CinemaSins uses the words, the director, and still can't grasp the concept of this movie being a commentary on American horror films. It's almost like the satirical channel called CinemaSins doesn't actually know shit about cinema or satire.